Do the words free time or relaxation sound foreign to you? Perhaps you've been stuck in the office too long, battling cyber threats or worrying about the next strain of ransomware. Let Sophos help provide peace of mind 24/7, 365 with cybersecurity delivered as a service. Because we want you to get back to your weekends, family dinners, and everything in between. And you'll get there with Sophos. Visit securityweekly.com/Sophos to learn more.
Application Security Weekly delivers interviews and news from the worlds of AppSec, DevOps, and all the other ways people find and fix software flaws. Join us as we explore how the latest news highlights modern security practices or reminds us of the missing ones. We also bring insights from interviews on topics from training to threat modeling, from open source tools to cloud-native techniques. Plus, an occasional reference from new wave to synthwave. Find us at securityweekly.com/subscribe or look for Application Security Weekly wherever you pick your podcasts.
Welcome back to Enterprise Security Weekly. As a member of the Security Weekly community, we are pleased to offer you 20% off your InfoSec World 2023 tickets. Join a community of over 2,000 security professionals and innovators at InfoSec World on September 25th through 27th at Disney's Coronado Springs Resort. Experience world-class learning and networking through enlightening keynotes, informative panel discussions, interactive breakout sessions, hands-on workshops, and more. Register today at securityweekly.com/InfoSec World 2023 using code ISW23-SecWeek20. Now let's get to the Enterprise Security Weekly news. Welcome, Tyler. Tyler has joined us. We got the full crew here today, and we've got a full docket of news stories to chat about.
What's going on, Adrian? How you been?
Good, good. How have you been? As busy as me? Busier?
More so.
Yeah, both very busy. A lot of new companies here. Honestly, all the ones marked as new companies are also fundings, but they're like tiny fundings. They're like, what is I'm blanking on the startup fund, the accelerator.
Pre-seed.
Gives you $500K.
Oh.
Was it YC?
I have no idea.
Y Combinator?
Y Combinator? YC? That's a common one, yes. Is Y Combinator pumping out cyber companies now?
Yes.
Wow.
Let me see. Because I think 4 of these came. Yeah, I'll look it up while we chat. But yeah, I think like 4 of these new companies all came with the same amount of funding out of the same accelerator, and I want to say it was. Might be remembering different. I haven't slept enough, but a ton of new companies here. Like these are all just like fresh out of an accelerator. Drip7, DefenseX, Bliss, EdgeBit, all these from like 5 through 10 here. These are all, very early stage seed funding security startups.
According to Crunchbase, our friends Drip7 were invested by Beta Boom. Is that the accelerator?
Oh,
I've never heard of Beta Boom.
Either.
Yeah. Spokane, Washington. Drip7, if we're going to play the game of making fun of names chosen by companies, Drip7 just sounds really, really bad. I'm sorry. I don't particularly care for the name. Although my 17-year-old son would love it because he loves to say, he comes downstairs and he says, "Hey, Dad, I got drip today." And that apparently that means he's dressed well.
Yeah, that's, I know. I've got teenagers.
Yeah, I had no idea that meant that, but maybe that's where it comes from. Maybe these are some very young founders, 16, 17-year-old founders, and they're Drip7. I don't know.
We talked about dope security the other day, right?
We did. Yep. Hey, but you know what? We've been making fun of no-name security for years, thinking it was, and redacted. And look at them. No-name's killing it.
Yeah. One of them.
Apparently, you don't have to have a really good name to be a really good cyber company.
Yeah, I mean, Thycotic did pretty well, despite having the absolute worst name of all time. That
sounds like a disease.
Every time I have to say it, it causes me physical pain. Yeah, it's Y Combinator. Pulled up the source here. ZeroPass, Bliss, EdgeBit, Escape, which I didn't include, and Infisical are all just came out of Y Combinator. 5 of them.
So it's interesting that they're launching right now. I mean, obviously with RSA coming up, this makes a lot of sense. You know, we're having the big announcement week in about a week and a half, but you know, it's kind of nice to see some new companies after we've shuttered a few.
Yeah. Well, and one of my stories here is talking about how, you know, there's 401 companies, I think, at it's number 31, 401 vendors, and I'm kind of thinking like I wonder how many of those booths might be empty because maybe the burn is too high to send a whole team there, or they got acquired. You know, they had some kind of a fire sale. But I mean, it's fairly normal to go to RSA, walk the expo floor, and see some empty booths that basically just have a sign that says, you know, we've relocated because we got acquired. We're now at the whatever. Whoever acquired us, it has a much larger, more posh booth, so it didn't make sense for them to have 2 booths there.
Yeah, the relocation due to acquisition is one thing, like putting up the sign that says we've moved over to the Palo Alto booth because of acquisition. But the funny thing would just be going over there for the empty ones and just putting tombstones on the table. Just
that would be mean. I mean, everybody remembers I think who was going to RSA, who has been to a lot of them, remembers the year Norris sponsored the lanyards at RSA, and of course we're not there.
Yeah. No. Brand recognition, regardless of whether they were there or not. You remember how many years later?
Yeah, exactly. And I think the silliest one I've seen was Elastica got not one of the smallest, but like a mid-sized booth. And the only thing there was a Ducati. It was a bright red Ducati.
Just a bike.
And like the information on how you could win it. But that was it. They just paid for a booth to put a fast motorcycle there and have a contest to win it.
Well, yeah, again, is this some kind of new guerrilla tactic that we could be seeing? Because again, how many years have you've known about that? Like, you remember that, just a motorcycle sitting there. You remember it.
It was different. It didn't look like anything else, that's for sure.
No news is good news.
Maybe the companies getting these names were thinking the same thing.
Sometimes you remember who does the gimmicky things, and a lot of the time you just remember the gimmick.
I don't remember anything usually, but that's because I'm old.
What were you saying, Sean?
I was saying maybe some of these company names are being generated by a random name or word generator, and they want names that are very unique that people, it sounds like a word, but it's not a word. And maybe that's a way that people will remember them. Like in physical.
Yeah. I mean, you don't want anything that people struggle too much to be able to say.
You know, I sit here and I poke fun at these week over week with you, Adrian. We sit here and we poke fun at the names of these companies. But put yourselves in the shoes of a founder. In today's world where so many single words, like everything is taken. Like, I wouldn't even know where to begin to name a company. As a matter of fact, I'll even throw myself under the bus. I once tried to start a company with the name of Bink, B-I-N-K, Bink. Dumb name, dumbest name ever. But at the moment, it sounded good.
I mean, none of these are terrible. Drip 7, Defense X, Bliss with a Y instead of an I, EdgeBit. Infisical is the only one where I'm like, I'm going to struggle to spell that, and I struggled for a moment to say it. And then ZeroPass is all about passwordless, so that totally makes sense. It's the number 0 and then pass. Super simple.
So Katie will agree with me on this.
Tyler
I'm
didn't
sure
like that.
she's about to speak. I've cut her off like 3 times now, and she's going to agree with me that you can't put a Y in place of an I, or a Y in place of an I, and then go tell people you work for Bliss. They'll never find your company. It's just, that's like marketing 101. Never do those goofy, weird spellings.
That's not even my issue. BLYSS. is predominant. Like there are so many other companies spelled BLYSS, so many of them, and most of them have nothing to do with technology. So that, that's because if somebody just types Bliss into their search engine, you're going to come up with 10 things before you come up with this company. I actually don't mind in physical because it's sort of like invisible and they're doing secret ops and like I sort of get it. I know, Tyler, you're shaking your head like,
It's the PH versus the F.
I would just prefer something like that than something that can so easily be confused with 20 other companies.
Am I the only one that have to look up homomorphic encryption?
No. Yeah. Well, I've been hearing about it for a long time from back in the CAS days. But
But before we get onto the actual meat of any of these, because clearly we're spending 10 minutes dissecting the naming of them, which has nothing to do with it themselves. But if you think about it, Drip 7 I'll take, although the 7, the number versus the non-number, okay, whatever. You can make an argument for that. EdgeBit I like. In physical, PHY versus the F, like, I don't know, too confusing to me versus the FI, so that's a no. Bliss is a no. And Defense X, they left an E out. People can't spell it.
It's cool.
Oh, I just noticed that.
It makes it cooler.
So I think, Adrian, you were about to take us down the actual meat of discussing these as opposed to ripping up names.
Well, Tyler, when you have to buy a vowel, you drop an extra E.
I'd like to buy a vowel, please, Adrian.
I was actually going to continue to circle this. I was going to bring up the episode. If you remember the episode when I think it took us like 5 minutes to find the company because we ran into a name collision in real time on the show. And we had two companies in the same exact thing that did completely different things in security. Do you guys, do you remember what that name was? Because I remember one of them was like an Irish email security play, or they were somewhere in the UK or in Ireland, somewhere in that region. And then the other one was a completely different company that had a completely different product in a different market. But I forget the name of them now.
Yeah,
so
I don't.
Number 10 here, are we OPass or Zero Pass?
Zero Pass.
It's got Zero Pass. But then you get into the number name thing. Is it ZERO or the number?
You're right.
Right. So I don't like that one either. You know, I saw a tweet. Actually. I think it might have been first thing this morning. I wish I could remember the whole tweet because they had a list of about 5 or 6 companies that apparently the last 2 years has been the era of big companies renaming themselves to completely crappy SEO terms. Google is now Alphabet, duh. Facebook is now Meta, duh. Like they ran down like 10 different terms that was like, if you Google this, you get 1,000 different collisions. It was the dumbest idea ever, but yet it seemed to be the hotness last year. What's that, eh?
Twitter is now a subsidiary of X Incorporated.
Yep, there's another one. Yep. Because that's Googleable.
Wait, X Incorporated.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Elon Musk's first startup, the one that eventually turned into PayPal, I think. So I think that's the reason he brought, like, I assume he still owned it. Like, can you have single character domain names?
I don't think you can buy them anymore, but I'm sure you can.
X.com.
Well, you might be able to buy them off of someone for a lot of money.
Yeah, X.com just puts an X on the screen.
Yeah.
And not even a good X. It's literally like a small, like 11-point font X in the corner.
And it's not HTTPS.
Is there a Praetorian symbol in the bottom right?
Oh. Yeah.
Are we going to actually talk about anything of substance?
Talk about what some of these companies do. So, you know, the one the company I work for, Valence, is in the RSA Innovation Sandbox, and there's a homomorphic encryption play there too. I'm blanking on their name. I know it starts with a Z, but yeah, Bliss also like I don't know. There was another one. I forget what year it was, Innovation Sandbox, but the judges just absolutely tore them apart. I want to say it was 2019. And basically the judges were like saying, we're pretty sure this is a scam. Convince us homomorphic encryption is not a scam. Because the idea is like you can use the data, search the data without unencrypting it.
Yeah.
And it's not, yeah.
There's nothing about homomorphic encryption. I've been hearing about homomorphic encryption since I was an actual analyst at Forrester, dating back to 2012 timeframe, so over a decade now. And the reality is every single one of them, even if I gave them credit for being real, even if like the non-math nerd, crypto nerd, cyber guy in me goes, all right, let's assume you did figure this out and you can really do it well. Who cares? Nobody buys it. Like, I have yet to be convinced that homomorphic encryption as a differentiator actually matters in market.
And that was what the judges were saying. They were saying, if this is real, everybody would be doing it.
Yeah, but like the interesting thing, nobody's doing it. Yeah, but I'm slightly different discussion on it, Adrian. What I'm saying is, if it's real, everybody wouldn't be doing it. And the reason they wouldn't be doing it is because nobody cares. It really doesn't make a lick of difference to most enterprises and companies. CISOs don't sit down and go, oh, I wish all of my data was searchable and encrypted at the same time. They just don't, because they know it's not a reality. And maybe that's the point that the judges were trying to make. We're saying, hey, if this could actually happen, people would care. I don't know.
Problem. But practically, from an attacker perspective, is it that much of a difference if the data is encrypted in the database and then decrypted in memory to be worked with, or the homomorphic encryption where it stays encrypted, but it's still being worked with somewhere in memory? Like, practically, is there any real difference?
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Sean. So if we think about homomorphic encryption as the ability to search, look through, analyze whatever encrypted data to get out the nuggets that you need, okay, well, maybe there's some utility there when you say things like, does object X exist in database? Maybe that question becomes valuable. But if you're trying to actually work with any reasonable sized chunks of data, you have to eventually decrypt it to work with it, right? Beyond, the lookup capability is interesting, but the actual read-write capability, you're still going to be using clear text at some point. Adrian, you had the furrowed brow look. Was that for our discussion or some other news you're looking at?
I'm just reading. So the company I was talking about was Zama, and I'm looking for something that's going to convince me on their website. And you saw the expression that I made. Not finding.
So I used to think there were only a handful of Z names out there, but I have a daughter that is really into zebras, and she keeps getting these stuffed zebra little friends, and every one of them has a different Z name, and I think she has like 15 to 20 of them now, and they all have different names, and they all sound alike. ZB, ZD, Z, Zadra. So maybe she could. There probably is. She could probably be a consultant to create new company names at some point in the future. So bright future ad for her.
All right. So yeah, some of these other ones. Zero Pass. I'm behind. I think a passwordless feature is possible. I think we've seen enough to see that it is possible. So, I'm excited to see companies trying to push that forward. Aside from that, I don't have a whole lot to say about it. The Defense X, I'm boggled by another remote web browser. Like, they could have been competing with like the Island and Talon, which basically is like a reimagining of the browser for the enterprise. But this is streaming a browser. Basically, Citrix publish Chrome and run it from the cloud. I don't get it. I mean, it's only ever been niche. Maybe that niche hasn't been filled by the other 14 companies that have done this. I don't know.
But it's zero trust for the web browser.
Shut your mouth.
Now you just lost Tyler.
I have bingo. I now have bingo.
He's going to close his webcam and leave.
Foolproof.
I'm happy. I made Tyler laugh 3 times, so I'm happy.
See, Here's the thing. This is the best about, for those of you that are listening and can't see the video and are just on audio. We've recently switched over to using a 3 or 4 up screen. I laugh all the time at you folks. You just can't see it. I'm always in the background.
No, you're laughing at us, not with us.
Oh,
I don't
mean,
care.
it's
A laugh's a laugh. I'm good. I'm good for that.
yeah. Comedian at heart. Any laugh, I'll take it. Yeah, I mean, I don't really. None of the rest of these are interesting enough to me to continue talking about. But
jump to the good one. Jump to 12A.
To 12.
Your favorite topic.
Yes, it is. I can't see enough of it.
Semgrep? You're wanting to talk about Semgrep?
Oh, not Semgrep. Yes, that's the one I want to talk about, but that's not the topic I can't seem to get enough of. It's AI.
AI. Yeah. So you know what? So number 12, Semgrep is one of the earliest security companies to find a fit for large language model AI in their product. And it's one of the things it does a good job at. Basically, Semgrep checks your code for issues. And what's the holy grail for any security company that finds a bunch of issues is to magically fix those issues instead of just piling them onto a human who has to manually go out and fix them. And that's what Semgrep is using GPT-4 to do, is to say, hey, the rest of your code has this convention going on. This code doesn't meet that convention. Let's make it consistent. So that's encouraging.
Yeah, not only is it encouraging for me, it also immediately puts my innovation side of my brain into overdrive. Like, okay, why can't what's interesting is that they took a broad solution and applied it to a very niche, narrow problem, right? The ability to fix code syntax or even to just fix code bugs in general, right? That is really exciting to me. And I know it feels weird to say, the big potential solution that is AI, I'm excited about the tiny thing, but it's taking the big potential solution and making it have a value-based output that really has me excited. And so if we take AI and say, apply that to CloudSec, well, we can actually get in and make sure that every S3 bucket that's out there is not encrypted or is properly encrypted and not accessible to the world. And if it is, lock it down. That should be an easy type of LLM style fix, right? It should have been something even before AI and LLM, but we can even get more generic and say, look at configuration issues that are causing problems and automate the fixes. But the key is making sure there's scope to a quantity and a size that does not cause hallucinations, high risk, mass configuration changes that break all sorts of pieces of our infrastructure.
Exactly. And the nice post is it's not hand wavy. There are tons of examples in it. Like, they're showing exactly, here's the goal, here's how we're doing auto triage, here's how we're doing some of this stuff, and here's a whole bunch of examples with code.
I wouldn't expect anything less from the Semgrep crew. I mean, they're really on point when it comes to AppSec. They're one of the most technically adept groups out there. So for them to apply AI, they're not going to put out a dud. They're going to put out really high quality overlay.
Sharp folks. Yep. All right. And I agree. That's a pretty exciting one. But from there, I did want to talk momentarily about the only funding one I really want to talk about is the Cybereason one. And it just had me thinking back to the point where, between 2014 and 2017, maybe, where the next gen AV and EDR competition got real hot and heavy, like before they could replace the incumbent AV companies. And they were all going head to head. Like it wasn't clear. Sentinel-1, Cybereason, CrowdStrike, Cylance hadn't sold to BlackBerry yet. Like, they were all kind of neck and neck, and it really looked like Cylance and CrowdStrike at the head of it there. And fast forward 5 years, and you've got CrowdStrike throwing money around, investing in other security startups, while Cybereason is still raising money.
So was this entire, I didn't read the article, was this entire $100 million from CrowdStrike?
No, I'm comparing it to CrowdStrike. It's from Softbank.
Okay. Got it.
Last CrowdStrike put $100 million into Abnormal Security, I think is the company.
Got it. Okay. You know what caught my eye on this one was, and I don't remember if we talked about this last week or not, Adrian, but they replaced the CEO on the back of this as well. This was not just here's $100 million, and here's your new CEO.
Yeah, indicative of like trying to solve some growth problems there, maybe.
Typically indicative of trying to solve growth problems it's one of a few things, growth problems for sure, or potentially a CEO who's done, who's tired, who's burned out, who's just sick of it and says, hey, I'm out. That's always something that can happen at this stage. And then, last but not least, it's the growth problem with, hey, here's 100, but caveat of the 100, we run the show. We're now the majority owner.
Sometimes I wonder, like, if I run into any of these people we're talking about or their companies that we're talking about in RSA, like, am I going to get mugged by a founder at some point? Like,
quite possibly, and it's going to be more me than you because I'm the one that talks the most smack.
I don't know. I talk a bit of smack too. Like, I don't know. You can't hate me too much for some of these names, okay? Like, you picked them.
The names, yes, absolutely. We'll give you.
It's pronounced Synergy, even though it starts with an X.
Starts with an X and has an I instead of a Y.
Exactly.
Ends with a GEE.
Synergy.
It's the guys.
Stop giving people ideas.
Sorry.
Because I know Sean is prepped for it. Let's jump to number 17, where we've got a dumpster fire item, and then from there we could go just about anywhere. But just a classic case of both a smart device and just a general, like, don't know how to handle security and vulnerability disclosure company. Just bad all around way to handle it. This kind of thing.
So can you give us the TLDR here, Adrian? So my understanding is they turned off the ability to open and close your garage because of a vulnerability risk.
Yeah, so they ignored this guy for months, right? And then because basically it's a smart, they make a bunch of smart devices. I think just one of them is a garage door opener. And like many of these companies, they nobody security minded was behind the design of it. There was some easy way to, oftentimes it's like the MAC address. It's like you go to the website, create an account, and if you know the MAC address of this smart device, they treat that as authentication. All of a sudden, you can now control that smart device. Or with cars, it was the VIN number. In many cases, like with the Nissan Leaf, if you knew the VIN number, which you can see by looking through the windshield at the dashboard, you could then unlock the car, roll the windows up and down, control the whole thing. So that happened to Nissan. And just over and over and over, like companies making the same mistake, using this like a serial number, MAC address, VIN number as the authentication, as the only thing standing between you and controlling somebody else's garage door or air conditioning or who knows what. And to protect this, they basically just took it down. And the only way you could now communicate with this smart device was over Bluetooth. So they just killed for like, I assume they're going to turn it back on after they fix it, but.
Yeah, no, there's a couple things that jump out at me. First of all, in going along the lines of crappy names, the name of the product is Nexx, Nexx. Okay, Google that. All right, let's see if you can even spell Nexx. And the funny line is the security researcher who found the issues told Motherboard, this product is completely remote anywhere in the world. So if you want to get into anybody's garage, if you want to open up anybody's gate, if you want to turn on anybody's plug that has a NexXXX, you can do it. Thought that was pretty funny.
It's even better than that. He said that the smart garage controllers can be searched for and opened based on an email address, device ID, or first name and last initial. and then
really?
worked with Department of Homeland Security, Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA, and CISA assigned 5 CVEs to this. 1 for hard-coded credentials. 2 of those are for authorization bypass through user-controlled key. 1 for improper input validation, and 1 for improper authentication validation.
Oh my God.
So there's let's just go ahead and check off the boxes, and then you get vulnerability bingo just done. So we originally connected them through their support website. Ticket was closed. Follow up to initial contact. 2 days later, ticket was closed. Reach out directly to the Nexx founder via personal Gmail identified in FCC filings. A few days later, follow up on the Nexx support website. 10 days later, open the case with CISA to work through it. Follow up on the support website, a few weeks later, and then CISA said that they couldn't establish contact and work with them. So they began escalation with their federal team. The federal team was unable to establish contact with Nexx. CISA recommended public advisory. So this is from January through February to then March. And then in March, CISA's like public advisory. And then late March, Vice attempted to contact Nexx via support and social media and received no response. So March 30th, CISA confirms public advisory, and the public release was April 4th.
Wow, that's just a toilet bowl that kept spinning.
There. He also contacted their support. Their support looking for help with one of his own products, website. And they answered that.
Yeah.
So they were more than happy to answer a question about their product, but they didn't care that it was completely vulnerable and affecting all the other customers.
Never let it be said that I overused the dumpster fire graphic. This is very deserving.
I'll be honest with you, Adrian. I think this deserves an upgraded graphic, like an actual award. So at some point in the future, we need to come up with a real doozy award of this is the dumpster fire of the month.
Like the Darwin Award of dumpster fires?
Yes, because this one takes the cake.
The Pony Awards are coming up, right? Don't the Pony Awards have the worst vulnerability award? I think they've got an award for that.
Yeah, they do, but I'll be honest with you, I don't think the Nexx XXXX has enough deployed devices to matter.
So it actually gets better. So it's the smart garage door. They also have, they offer smart alarm controllers. In addition to their smart garage controllers. And these controllers connect to home alarm systems like ADT branded systems, allowing users to enable and disable them remotely. So they use a custom WebSocket server to manage messages between the cloud and the devices. But the WebSocket server's configuration fails to verify if the bearer token in the authorization header corresponds to the alarm trying to connect to Nexx's cloud. So that means that any authorized user can access information and signals intended for other alarms. So the signals include the Smart Alarm's device ID, which can be combined with the issue from the Smart Garage one. And it appears that all these smart alarms use the MAC address prefix 7C90BD F4 and then the last 2. So they can be brute forced. So then there's also a way to hijack the smart alarm devices by simply having the alarm's MAC address. An attacker can register an already registered device and effectively take control of it. As a result, the device is removed from the original owner's account, allowing the attacker to gain full access and arm or disarm the alarm. And again, you can brute force those device MAC addresses, and they all have the same prefix. So yeah.
But they value your privacy. They say that right on the homepage of the website.
Yeah, and when I call companies I work with or talk to, my call is important to them as well, and I believe that.
The automated system. We value your support. You are a valued customer. You're going to be on hold for 72 hours.
Thank goodness.
This is really good because the Nexx products have a 90-day money-back guarantee and a 1-year warranty. So you're protected.
Thank goodness security researchers are looking out for stuff like this. But just I'm scrolling on their website, and as you scroll down, they add a add to cart thing at the top of the screen. And they're one of these websites that have their product ratings on the website, and their Nexx Smart has a 3.5-star rating on their own website.
Just wait. Just wait.
Yeah, 3.5 stars. Sounds like they're doing well.
Yeah,
Oh, but I
I'll
also
be
have
like,
to see what the media is saying about Nexx. I wonder if we can get this article somehow, a link back to that.
yeah, it's amazing. I mean, they've got. It's not a tiny company. On their own website, they've got a couple hundred reviews on the garage door controller product. So, loved it until I hated it. That's the title of one of the reviews. Oh boy. Even when it works, it's not that great of a product, even when it's not extremely hackable. All right,
So if you Google Nexx Garage, the top questions that for Google, it says people also ask, why is my electric garage door not working? Why is the button on the garage door not working? Why is my garage not opening?
Jeez.
Because it's been remotely disabled.
It's a feature. Let's move on here. There's a few newsletters I just wanted to call out here. Matt Johansson has a new newsletter. He's I think 7 issues in, called Vulnerable You, and he's been all over. He's been on the vendor side. He's been on the blue team side. He was at Bank of America for a while. A lot of great experience, and used to give a lot of talks. And then, of course, when he went into Goldman Sachs and Bank of America, not so much. We didn't see any blogs or talks. People who go to Apple or Bank of America, like certain companies, you don't get to do public speaking. And yeah, he's actually going to be on the show. Good point, Katie. We interviewed him yesterday for that episode that's going to drop on April 27th during RSA week, and we talk about this newsletter. But it's a really good one. It's just kind of like a broad, like, Defender. I think anybody in InfoSec would get something out of this newsletter. Good stuff, though. But certainly one of the things we're both very passionate about is transparency and breaches, so that we can understand the mistakes that were made, so we can learn from them. And that's kind of what the title of it, Vulnerable You, implies. And then the next one, Threat Prompt, is the meeting of cybersecurity and AI. It's a really interesting newsletter that just focuses on specifically topics that are interesting to people who are both in cybersecurity and interested in AI. So a lot of good stuff in that newsletter that has really kind of helped my thinking around the edges of AI. What's dangerous about it, what it's capable of, that kind of thing. Really solid.
Just subscribe to both.
Yeah. And in the category, while I'm at it, in the category of things that we're not going to talk about too much on the podcast, but I recommend you go check out and read yourself. We've got 2 reports here. Thinkscape's 2022 Q4 edition is out. This is a free report that Thinkst puts out every quarter that summarizes the research that they've seen done in security over the previous 3 months. And they put it out in both a beautiful PDF version, or they also record a 20-minute audio summary of what's in the report. So whichever way you want to consume that information, they make it really convenient. It's totally free, no reg wall, nothing. Highly recommend it. And then the last report here is from Kelly Shortridge and Hosea Dykstra, who I didn't speak because I had COVID for the first time, but we were all in the same group at the last Usenix Enigma conference, and because we were giving similar talks about questioning assumptions. But yeah, this is a good report about kind of considering how you use security resources. Considering that each use of a resource, whether it's budget or people, removes your ability to do something else. So kind of like a big picture kind of approach to thinking about security and how you put together your program. I'm going to take a breath there and let you guys direct where we go next.
I just want to go back one newsletter, the ThinkScapes one. Totally not that important, but the idea, and you put it here for a reason, no paywall, no reg form. I know that a lot of companies are trying to do marketing, and I know they're trying to collect leads, but there's a big difference between push and pull marketing. And Tyler's, I see the look on your face over there. If you have something really important to say and it's going to help the community more broadly, I am very pro no paywall, no reg form. I know I'm going to get slammed by my own marketing team. Tyler's glaring at me through the camera, but like, I'm sorry, but if you have something that's going to help the community, give it away. You can make money other ways. You can get leads other ways. Have them come to your booth at RSA, scan them when they take their socks from your booth. It's great. But research, important research.
I agree with you. I absolutely agree with you. I mean, and the other part of it is a lot of the folks in InfoSec that's going to download these things are going to use made up stuff anyway. So what's the value to that? Like, are you going to get any, I mean, how many solid leads do you get from a contact form for downloading a white paper or an article? I'm curious because I don't honestly know. I don't think I've used a real name yet. Sorry.
It's a single digit percentage.
I have a fake name that I use for a lot of them too, and whomever's email address it is, I'm so sorry for them. I really am.
I use my real information, but generally it's an email account that I don't check often, and anything that has unsubscribe anywhere in the body of the email automatically goes to a separate folder called automated email. So that's how
way to do it. I'd never thought of that, Adrian. That everything has to have unsub on it, and so if it has unsub on it, pump it into an automated email system. That makes total sense to me.
For years, yeah, that's I actually have a tweet. One of my most popular tweets was sharing that tip.
Yeah, well, I see why, because I've been in cyber for 25 years, and it never friggin' occurred to me to do that.
Yeah, because you're the guy who puts up the damn form.
So I'm going to take the counterpoint, and
Adrian,
the reason
you said single digits percentage-wise?
No, it depends on the content. That it's not single digits. So it depends on the content. So if the content has significant value, let's assume that this is like a massively super important report. There is a trade-off that every business has to choose between brand recognition by giving it away free, just saying we're going to give it away free and get brand recognition-based marketing, which is fine. Like, there's value in that. I'm not saying that's a bad thing to do. But the trade-off on the flip side of that is I can't get a list of potential people that I might be able to market to, right? By putting it out on the ungated situation. And I think there's a trade-off, a time and a place, and it's largely dependent on the type of content. It's largely dependent on the phase of the company, the size of the company. So let me pose it to you this way. If you're a cybersecurity startup and you have 15 employees, nobody knows who you are, and you just wrote the seminal piece of research that the entire world is going to download, should you give it away free? No, absolutely not. You gate it so that you get the names of people, and now you can start marketing to them. Now, you're Verizon. You're massive. Should you give the DBIR away completely ungated? Yeah, probably, because you already have a massive database. You already know what the 80-20 of the world looks like. You don't need to do it. So my point is there's a time and a place for gating. There's a time and a place for ungating. And that's just one example, counterexample. Like, there's lots of different versions of why you may gate or ungate. But I don't think that there is a right short answer. And I'm sure all the CISOs of the world are going to flame the hell out of me right now, because they're all like, everything needs to be gated. Don't ever market to me. Don't ever call me. I'll find you if it's something I want. Well, guess what? What if I'm a new company that you've never heard of with a new idea you never heard of? How am I supposed to tell the world, right? So I think there's a balance there, and there needs to be a balance. The number one thing you can do, and I'm going to keep talking as long as I can so Katie can't speak. Number one thing you need to do as a marketing org, the number one thing you need to do is honor the unsub. If somebody clicks unsub, honor it. And as long as you do that, I don't have a problem gating, and I don't have a problem emailing you. You signed up for it, you'll unsign up immediately, and I will respect that. That's my
Well,
take.
that's true. That's true.
fair.
But what about a middle ground approach? Why isn't there an optional, both on the front and the back end registration? Because maybe you just want to read it. You're somebody like me. You just want to read it. You have no buying power. I have zero buying power. If anybody is listening to this podcast and I have accessed something and I've used my real company address, I don't make decisions. Don't email. Just don't. Just don't. I get a million of them from companies every week. But what about if I am in a position to buy something and I read something and I go, I like this company. I like their research. Why isn't there the option to sign up on the back end?
There is.
There should be.
100%. There is.
Because
You
that's
go through
an
the
opt-in.
any good
We take
any
such
good
an
marketing.
opt-out approach in this country. We're gonna slam you until you say no. We're just gonna hammer you until you say no. What about opt-in? Like, oh, I read this. I like this company. I want to read more from this company.
Well, I think there's a
Substack
spot
does
for
it.
that too, Katie. I think there's a spot for that too, because if we think of all, here's the kick. If you're producing content, if you're producing anything from a marketing side of a vendor today, and you're pushing it into the inboxes or making it available into the inboxes of your target audience, provide value. Provide value in every piece you send, and people don't unsub. They like it, right? And so don't sell them. Don't push your product on them. Sure, you can have your brand in there and you can mention your product, but provide them value in every send you do. Your unsub rates will go through the floor. Your opt-in rates will stay high. I am fine with this approach of, hey, you downloaded something, you're now on the list, you should unsub. I'm fine with that. Because you know what? You know how much I get in a daily basis? I'm religious about clicking unsubs on everything I want to unsub from. I hardly get any spam. Between spam filters and unsubs, I hardly get touched anymore. Like, it works.
But you're still
if
in
you
somebody's
do it.
database.
So what?
I mean, not that it's hard to find my work email address, like
Yeah, so
it's my
what?
name, but it's somewhere in someone's database.
So tonight there's a special episode of Marketer Smackdown, and Katie and I will be in the squared circle. We're just going to beat the shit out of each other. So on to the next topic.
All right. Let's see. Where should we go next?
Where do we go from here that's a little less controversial?
Yeah, we're not going to have Tyler and Katie hating on each other.
How about FDA devices?
Sure.
Not
Only
controversial.
we can only go
Speaking
to
of
that topic. Hang on, we can only go to that topic if Adrian and Sean fight about it.
Okay.
You have to disagree.
So
Sure.
do I have to take the time?
No, I changed my mind. We're going to go to 19, cyber insurance. Go.
Go.
Yeah, I mean that's just a clear win. That's FDA, cybersecurity is tantamount to safety, right? It's now a safety consideration. So absolutely, FDA should be able to refuse, a device getting certified if it has crappy security.
Yeah.
Well, we
basically,
talked about
it says
this when
that.
Josh was on a week or two ago. That's when it came out, and this should be happening.
Yeah.
It seems very reasonable. I mean, the device manufacturers have to submit plans to monitor, identify, and address in a reasonable time frame any determined post-market cybersecurity vulnerabilities and exploits, including coordinated vulnerability disclosure and plans. And then at the end of the article, it talks about what are those devices that have to have those things. And so as a medical device that is considered a cyber device, if it includes software validated, installed, or authorized by the sponsor, can connect to the internet, contains any tech characteristics validated, installed, or authorized that could be vulnerable to cybersecurity threats. When you talk about medical devices, that's probably just about all of them. So I think this is a good thing because there's been a lot of issues. DEF CON speakers have talked about problems with medical devices. Other people have released information about problems and vulnerabilities in medical devices, and they just don't get fixed. And these are things like pacemakers and other things that are pretty important.
Yep. Anything that automates, dosage release, all the infusion pumps, things like that. Lots of important stuff. Another one that I'm really, really happy about. There's a few items here where I'm using all caps, and 22 is another one. But basically, the way I'm reading this is Android is going to start requiring companies who make apps where you can create an account in the app. You also have to be able to delete the account if you delete the app, or have the option to do that. So, in other words, getting into an app ecosystem or a SaaS app or a mobile app, getting out of it should be just as easy as getting it in. Like should be as little friction. If you decide, because a lot of people are just going to sign up for stuff to check it out. The app's crap. I don't like it. It doesn't do what I do. And now I've got this account. They've got my personal data. Like maybe it's like an exercise app or something like that, and it's hooked to biometrics and stuff like that. I gave it a bunch of personal information, height, weight, stuff like that. It should be like delete the app. Oh, do you also want to delete your account and the data that you gave this company? Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm on.
It's
Yeah,
almost like unsubscribing to marketing emails.
Easy killer. It's almost.
Hey, away from that.
Yeah, it's almost like you brought up exercise apps specifically for me, Adrian, because I'm on 5 of them for running, probably 4 or 5 of them easily, and I haven't run in probably 7 years.
Yeah, Strava. Yeah, I've got a Strava.
I'm on all of them. Yeah, Met My Run, Strava, the Under Armour one. They all got bought by each other too. So, yeah, all my weight loss plans for the last 7 years are all in there, and I don't run.
Do you occasionally get text messages saying, "Hey, what's happening, fatty?"
No, yeah, I should, but more often than not, what I get is your friend so and so just joined Strava. You should come back, and I'm like, well, no. I'm fat and it's bad, so no.
I get those messages, but they're not from an app. They're from Tyler. He just asks, "Hey, fatty."
Hey, fatty, what's up?
I think that the going back to the topic, I think this ties really well into things like GDPR that has the right to be forgotten, because you're right. If the sign-on process is that easy, then getting rid of it should be that easy as well. If only gyms did the same thing and made it as easy to cancel as they do to sign up.
Yeah, which is why I'm never signing up for a gym again.
Maybe this is the loophole: is you sign up with your Android phone through their app, and then you can later delete the app and then have it remove you.
But they'll still charge your credit card for 3 years.
Yeah, that's why you use one credit card just for them, and then that way you can cancel it.
Yeah, that's crazy. I've heard stories.
There was a whole Friends
25.
episode about it, I believe.
Yeah, that I could see that. I haven't seen all the Friends episodes, but I can absolutely see that making a good one. Number 25 is a really interesting one. We're running kind of long on time, so I'm trying to pick out the ones that are must cover. And 25 is one. 71% of IT security professionals in the U.S. say they've been told to keep a breach quiet. And the number is 44% in the U.K. And when you go to Italy and Germany and France, it steadily drops. I think France is in the teens. But yes, 71% in the U.S.
Adrian, I have a question on that. You say France is in the teens. Do you have any insight? You may not. Do you have any insight into why France is in the teens? Is it because like very harsh punishments versus no punishments, or insurance regulations or compliance? Right? Like, is there some kind of reason?
No, I have no idea. I would love to get some insight from maybe some listeners on why it's lower. And it's not in the teens. It's 26.8%. But I mean that's the total inverse of what it is in the U.S. Yeah.
Yeah, it's drastically lower. So the reason why I asked on if you knew the why, like if you had researched it or not, was because fundamentally, like there's got to be an incentive-based structure here that makes France do what they're doing. Could it be culture? I guess it could be cultural as well.
Yeah.
But likely it's incentive-based of some sort. Like you go to jail if you hide it, period, full stop, right? So...
Well, I mean, typically you find that the cultural aspect of it makes its way into regulations, right? Like if you look at Germany, right, for example, or Switzerland, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's I might have to tweet about that, see if anybody has any insights on that, because I'm super curious and I have no idea.
Shocked. I'm completely shocked at the number.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, that goes back to Vulnerable You. We talked about that I think a little bit when we talked to Matt Johansson, and we also talked about it last night on Paul's Security Weekly. So definitely an important survey there. Some important insights there. That came from was it Bitdefender who did that survey? Who did that? Yeah, Bitdefender did that survey. So thanks to them for shining a light on that issue. Another issue that should have light shined on it, I'm not sure where it is, but it's about CISOs and drinking problems.
Number 27.
Alcohol abuse, basically. But yeah, that's another one that's not a huge surprise to anybody, but certainly something we should be talking about. Yeah, I've heard it's one of the most stressful jobs. Yeah.
CISOs and founders both, Adrian. CISOs and founders both.
Yeah.
Makes being a security founder a double dinger.
Let's see. Anything else we want to cover? I had a few AI trends there. One of them is kind of funny, number 30. Or we could just jump to the squirrel stories.
Squirrel.
Yeah, I think we should go straight to the squirrel because, quite frankly, if you open up that AI Pandora's box, I'll start talking about it for an hour.
Yeah. So the final squirrel story, the 33, I'll cover that one first because it's not as fun or uplifting as the other one. But basically, there's somebody's throwing shade on Andreessen Horowitz for funding this company. But I think this article makes it sound worse than it is. The title is "The App That Lets You Pay to Take Control Over Another Person's Life." And what it actually is people taking some of their decisions, living their life in the spotlight, basically, like a lot of people already do on Instagram and TikTok and stuff like that, and monetizing it to where, hey, you can influence what the next tattoo I get is, or where I put the tattoo or something like that.
Oh,
like they've already decided to give up, to let people pay to decide to make this decision for them. It's not like you get to reach out and just control part of their life. Like they've already decided, hey, I'm going to open this up, and they don't even have to do it if they disagree with the result. Just they don't get paid if they don't.
Oh, so they don't get paid if they actually don't deliver on the result. The payment is held in escrow and returned.
Yeah, that's my understanding of it. Yeah.
Oh, that changes everything because I thought like you just got paid and they just be like, screw off, I'm not going to do it. But if it's held in escrow and I have to then hold up my, tattoo of Katie on my arm to prove that I got, so I can get the money. Well, which quite frankly, I would do that for free, for all transparency, for all honesty. But in general, if it's held in escrow and actually has to be paid back, that's kind of freaky. This is something like an episode of, what is it, the Black Mirror or whatever that show on HBO was. This feels like it should be an episode of Black Mirror.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's that much different from, how a lot of people are using social media today, where they say, tell me what you're thinking down in the comments, and they kind of react and make decisions based on what people say in the comments, and you already have this loop, I feel like, in existing social media apps today. This one just throws money into the mix. And like, I'm not going to lie, like that
changes everything, Adrian.
It's not without its issues, but
yeah, you throw money into the mix, it completely changes the incentive structures because there's going to be people doing dumb stuff like, hey, I will get an entire back tattoo of Elon Musk's face if I get enough upvotes, if I get $10,000 upvotes.
Attention is a huge motivator also, though.
This is just asking for freaking trouble. I'm going to sign up for it.
It depends. I mean, attention is a motivator, but a lot of times the attention is in service of the hope of money, right? Like, this is why we have all of those stupid reality shows. first of all, they're not reality. A lot of them are scripted, but you have people who do those for the attention in the hope that they will then be hired for some other type of entertainment kind of thing, whether it's for an online magazine or another show or whatever the case may be. That's so one feeds into the other for sure.
Yeah.
Nunu, it's called.
Nunu. Yeah, Nunu.co if you want to check it out. And it's pretty much at the level of quality as you would expect. I just immediately, I start making this face. For those listening, I'm cringing. Yeah. Yep, it's what you would expect. For the other lighter squirrel story, where's our squirrel? Do we have some squirrel graphics?
It's chasing another squirrel.
It could be that it would cover up most of Sean. If we put that graphic up, that might be the issue.
Oh, but yeah. And Sean and Katie are both gone. We're a two-person show now.
Yeah. Or they can play with the graphic.
For those of you that can't see the visual, both Sean and Katie are putting their heads into the squirrels' mouths and doing funny stuff.
No, I have a keyboard over my face.
Nice. It looks like squirrels. Looks like there's some violence going on. The squirrel's hitting you with the keyboard. But
there's my squirrel. Sorry, I reduced my screen. I didn't even see that I'm being eaten by a squirrel.
Yeah, you're getting beaten up by a keyboard. Yeah. So the other squirrel story is an article in the MIT Technology Review, which if you have any trouble reading any of these MIT articles, I think there's 2 of them I use for stories here. If you throw them in incognito, it'll let you read the whole thing. I think if you hit it's one of those where if you hit the site 3 times, it's going to start hiding it from you. And I give them money. I get the print version of this, and it still doesn't let me see it when I'm signed in. So I don't know what the deal with that is. But I've always loved the idea of, I've always thought prosthetics are cool. Like not just for people who need them to restore some kind of function, like if you lose a limb or something like that, or and especially in this age of 3D printing, but also the idea of using them to extend what anybody can do. Like I always thought the idea, if you're working with something that's with things that are very sharp or very hot or something like that, you could have some kind of prosthetics that allow you to have the full function of 5 fingers or 8 fingers, or how many fingers you want. You can just kind of go nuts with the idea of prosthetics here and extend how strong you are. I've seen those devices they're working on for people in the military, and even just shipping, working in warehouses and stuff like that makes you 30% stronger than you would be normally without assistance. So it's just really gets my imagination going.
I am a bit concerned though, because
a bunch of years ago, there was a runner who lost a leg and got a prosthetic, and they have those legs, the prosthetic legs that are designed for runners.
Oh yeah,
and they
can
said,
run faster than
you're going to be faster than the people who have the body parts that they were born with. And he was banned from competing in anything that wasn't an quote adaptive athlete category because it made him faster. If you don't get that lactic acid buildup, you've got an advantage there. So it's pretty cool in some ways. You have to, in those cases, you have to put up with a lot of pain, a lot of suffering. So why shouldn't it be an advantage, right? To get something back for that. That's pretty cool.
Plantar fasciitis is not an issue for that guy.
I did see many years ago a documentary that covered something similar to this, and a certain Dr. Otto Octavius had additional limbs, and it didn't work out so well for a certain young gentleman named Peter Parker. So I'm always a bit wary of these things.
Oh, I mean, everything's dual use, right? That has a certain amount of power. Yeah.
Comes with great
Doc,
responsibility, right?
I mean, that's I think the stuff is really exciting, especially like I've seen several creators on YouTube who have lost fingers and like made their own replacement fingers just with like elastic and 3D printers and,
Wow.
creativity and ingenuity. And it's just, I think it's so cool that we live in an age where, you can have an accident, lose a finger, and then make another one for yourself that works as good, if not better. Now you can have a flashlight on the tip of your finger. Like you can do all kinds of really cool, crazy stuff. And specifically in this article, for people not looking at it, the example that they give is a second thumb on one hand. So I guess a third thumb if you're considering both arms. So you can grasp extra things. But neat stuff. Makes me happy seeing that kind of creativity, people building that kind of stuff. Any other thoughts before we wrap here?
No other thoughts from me other than Sean has killer hair today.
Thank you.
He does.
You're looking
I
good,
use
buddy.
L'Oreal.
All right. Thanks so much. I'm really enjoying the 4UP view. I think we should continue doing that, especially for the news segment. Big thanks, Katie, Tyler, Sean, for joining today. It's been a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
And big thanks to everybody listening or watching to this week's episode. We'll be back next week. And the week after that's already in the can. It's already recorded.
There you go.
Recorded yesterday in the future.
Bring RSA week. Yep, a lot of good stuff coming up. So tune back next week.